I was looking back through my camera roll and I was like, what were things like all the products that I'm thinking about now are pulling from things that I think are good products to me.
Mhm.
Therefore, you'll look at them and be like, dude, that's fucking cool. Like, how did you come up with that? Well, it's
Yeah,
all of my experiences. The better I experience, the better products I can create, the better ideas I can bring forward. So I was
right.
looking back to like, what are my favorite softwares? So what do? I like pull from their design libraries, like Apple, early days, YouTube, like Claude, School, Chess.com, Figma, like Maps, Docs, like that's what I pull from here. On a product standpoint, like when I went to Portugal, it was like a very cool experience where it's like a hostel, but they teach you surfing. And there's certain things that like clicked for me that I was like, I just love the way that they were, you know, they curated the experience. It's like a curated thing.
Yeah,
All these
yeah.
things are curated.
That's very hard to do also. That's why I think that makes the list as well because curating fun is like can go really badly if the people who are doing it is not are not good at their craft. It's
Yeah.
like it's like HR trips and offices like the most boring shit ever. But yeah,
Yeah. So like Chipotle, like there's a couple other brands here that are doing like,
yeah,
and it's like I'm pulling from there. And
yeah.
then like certain video games I'm pulling from.
Hmm.
Like with CSGO, I want to pull from their matchmaking system and bring that into like editor matchmaking to projects. And then for Overwatch, I want to pull their loot box mechanism of like when you unbox something you don't know what's inside of it. I want to bring that to like ad creatives. When you are unboxing your video, you only have a one-time open that this experience. In Gary's mind, like their ability to like have like a playground where like you can just experiment with stuff and like see things and then like, you know, whatever. Like that, those are like nostalgic things for me. And what makes it really fun now is like when you have a product that you want to build, you go back and play the video game with this new perspective and you look at
Yeah.
everything you never noticed before.
Right, 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 right.
Yeah. So like as you build stuff out, like that's how you make different, like when you do consulting or you work as an agency or whatever you do, or build any products, like that's how you stand out in the market is because it's just like your unique fingerprint and you will be different than me and I will be different than everyone else because that's how you're like authentic self. All of this, like if you understand like why like how I try to position myself now in business and like what I want to do, my dream was to own the Chicago Bulls. I always wanted to own the Bulls. Don't know why. I just
Yeah,
love playing basketball. And
yeah.
I'd play video games. I was obsessed with video games, but I would never play shooting games. I know I put like CSGO here, but like I never really played those games from like the point of like getting a dopamine release from like violence. I only played two games. I played NBA 2K and I
Yeah.
played Madden. But when I
Mm.
played those two games, I only played one game mode. I played my GM. And when I played my GM, I intentionally picked the worst team and I fired all the people that were like overpaid on salary. And then I would like rotate the players that were running back so they should actually be like a wide receiver. And I would like rotate all these things or like people that are whatever it is. And I'd like find that like there's people that have potential that aren't being used properly. And I learned business is just that. Like you can just like move the right pieces in the right order, but it's all about people. People aren't pieces, but like if somebody, like for me, if you tell me, all right, Phil, your job is to, here's the N8N automation, just put everything together, I'm going to fail.
Mhm.
Um, if you're going to say like, hey, research this thing and come back in 3 months, I'm going to fail. My method of research is like, give me a really hard problem, and I'm going to give you an answer you weren't expecting. But my way of doing it is by experiencing things. I will
Right.
thrive, and I'll do my unique way of doing it. So like when I understood that people are just put in the wrong position, doing the wrong things, like cool, we have to put ourselves in the right seat.
How did you learn this, Phil? How did you
Learn what?
this stuff? This is unbelievable.
Learn what though?
Like this process, this way of doing things. Because the
Experience.
thing you're sharing here, this is like you find good things and then you find the best thing out of it, you take that out, and then you try to put that in your thing. And then your thing just becomes like exponentially better because you're combining the best of the best stuff, like
Yeah.
and you're taking inspiration from experiences, from other things that have worked. Like how did you come up with this?
I mean, you just learn from really smart people and I would observe, just like what is this? How is this person doing this? What are they doing? Oh, they're pulling. What are they pulling from? And I see this over and over and over again. Then it's like, I mean, I wrote this process down. I think that was the other document that I opened up. It was like inspiration. Yeah.
The only
Again,
other
like
example, yeah,
I've written this down, but it's like if you just always intake good stuff, if you understand like two and what good is, how can you produce something that's bad?
absolutely.
So for you, like right, your background is like investing. Like, what is a good investment? It's a beautiful investment, right?
That's very interesting because one of the first guidance that I got was don't worry about your bad trades, only focus on the good ones. And I was like, and I came from like a mathematical perspective. I'm like, if you only focus on the good ones, then that weighs your pers perspective in a negative manner because you're not thinking about all the times that you would lose. Like you're only focused on positive things. And like it took me a while to figure out that an obsessive focus on what makes the good good is what will train your pattern recognition and your ability to replicate that in the next thing that you do, rather than paying too much attention to what's not working.
Yeah. So
There's
like,
a time to do that, but that time is not when you want to develop a strategy or when you're actually doing like creative work. That time is like, when you're cutting costs or working on efficiency, that kind of stuff.
yeah. So like you would know what a good investment is or a good trade is better than I would. Mine is surface level because I'm not an investor, right? Um, my philosophy with investing is like if I was to like I want to go into like the reason I picked e-commerce is there's a natural kind of drift towards like once you get into e-commerce, you get into holding companies, and once you get into holding companies, you get into PE, and once you get into PE, you get into VC. And I was like, this is my way in where I can get to the top of this industry and
Yeah,
naturally go to the next one and then go into, you know,
yeah,
um, if I can't generate $50 million myself, how can I build the trust of other people where I can then do leverage buyouts of companies, do this
yeah,
whole thing where you put yourself, restructure shit and get out. Like that's the
yeah,
game I'm playing right now. So in 10
yeah.
years, I want to be playing that. That's my like fun game is like I
Right.
want to sell this company or whatever company, buy some like third or second division sports team in Europe or something, play
Yeah,
this game a little bit, then go back in and do the next
yeah.
challenge.
Be
But
the be the GM, like the game that you were talking about.
yeah, to me, that's fun.
Yeah.
Like when I was playing Counter-Strike, this is another thing you can look at. Like, what was your style when you were doing team sports? Like,
Mhm.
when I would play basketball, I didn't care about scoring the points. I didn't
Yeah,
care about the like padding the stats. I would fall out. I would do whatever I needed for the team. As long as
yeah,
the team won, we won. When I
true.
played CS:GO, I would be like the minesweeper. I would do the call out. I'd be like, all right, guys, I think this is a strategy, but I'm gonna validate the strategy. So I'm gonna go jump out with my knife. Here's all my money. I'm gonna go scout for you. Cool
Hmm.
info, recon, pass it back.
Yeah,
And then I can like learn from that info. I didn't care about top of the leaderboard. We just kept winning. So everyone has their style of doing things. I
right.
didn't realize I was doing it that way, but that was my way of doing it. Um, so for you, like again, you have a mathematical background. Like, what's a beautiful or really good equation to you, right? Like, why is E equals MC squared like something that's deemed beautiful? Why is it so simple? Like from physics, like Richard Feynman, I studied him a lot. Maybe I'm sure you're familiar with him.
Right.
Just the way he thinks was like that's why like I don't understand like the Feynman method, and I started applying it. I'm like, oh, if you can explain something like this concept of creativity to a third grader, a 3-year-old, they can create. But like, I mean, all I'm explaining is like my perception of creativity. I'm just boiling it down to like first principles, and like you could then theoretically, if you take the right notes or take the right like idea, you can then apply this to yourself, and like you'll find your own way of doing it. But like, there is no one fit. If I would boil everything I'm saying down into like the simple as I can, like this is it. Like I'm telling you how to like you have done cool stuff, you look at cool stuff, you have good taste. The questioning, like that's what I'm explaining right now. Like like why was it so good? Why do people like it? I ask people when I go to like a museum that's like, there's in Florence, like the Uffizi Museum, where all of like this most famous art is there. I was like, why do you like this? Or like, oh, okay, got it. Who actually built this thing? You find a really interesting name you've never heard about. That causes you to find something new, question something, discover something, and it never ends. So like it's a positive flywheel. That's all it is, at least from my observation of like innovation is like I think that's what makes this game really fun is like you and me can both have the exact same idea and we may have the same way of doing it, but because you grew up the way you grew up and I grew up the way I grew up, we'll
Yeah,
approach it completely differently.
true,
And that's what
true.
makes it so fucking cool because like that's how you stay authentic because like it draws people in. There's an actual story. Like people can then say like, oh, this person did this because of this, this, and this. Like what? How? Explain more.
I think you need to
So
write a book sometime.
what?
I think you need to write a book sometime
On what?
on this, on what you're talking about. I think I don't think this is out there anywhere. This approach to creativity and putting things together. Very interesting.
Yeah, but
I'm gonna sit down and read some of the things you've shared and look back at the things in my life which have worked really well or which I've seen work really well. Yeah, and try to
yeah,
bring
just
it
do
around.
that. Think about how you acted in school, like when you were given a project. What was your role in the project? And don't lie to yourself about it. Like, were you the guy that didn't give the answers? You let people figure it out, or were you the one that wanted the answer, right? Like, there is no right or wrong way. It's just like that's your way. That's like a pattern, a fingerprint.
Right, right.
Um, when I was doing this whole approach of like school projects, like, I would always be the guy that nobody wanted to do anything, but I put all the blunt to myself, and then I gave all the credit to everybody else. Now that never like helped necessarily anybody. It hurt
Yeah,
people actually because I was letting an approach, but like, okay, in CS:GO this is happening, and when I played basketball that was happening, school that was happening. And I was like, well, okay, what if that's not a bug? What if that's a feature? So then I'm like
right.
looking at what I've been building, like this current project, business. It's an inequality to like creation. It's like you're making it equal across the board. Like I'm seeing this gap in the market where people get gonna get creativity is gonna get disrupted. And like this will not be creativity anymore. It's just gonna be like AI will just be making content for the sake of making content.
Mhm.
And it'll be unequal to all the creative people. So I'm like, what if there's a way where you can distribute the load where you give creatives work rather than just taking away their work?
Right,
So it's the
right.
same approach. I'm not going to be the one that gets any of the credit. It's going to be an equal thing where it's a co-collaborative thing. So
Correct. Correct.
that's just like my way of doing things. I'm not going to change them.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I think
So
that's the best way to, I think the best way to get what you want is to help other people get what they want and like just find a way to align that. I think that it takes more work to do that. I think it's harder, but it's probably not that much harder than the other way where like if I think about the people that I respect in like in my previous line of work, it's the guys, it's not the arrogant guys who've made a little bit of money and they're like like super rude to people and like all that stuff. It's always the guys who are like still humble, still learning, and always there to like help, like whatever they can do, that kind of stuff. I feel like that's a different type of thing that you earn if you align your self-interest with other people's self-interest and like try to improve together rather than just individually yourself.
yeah, and I guess like the final point in all this is like if you want the fucking thing to write down the hardest or the most important thing, it's like just be a kid. That's it. Because if you're a kid, you see things with fresh eyes, and
Yeah,
then you don't have a bias of how life should be or how project should be. It's like, well, why can't it be this way? Because as kids, we're
yeah,
always told like you can't jump on the table or no, you can't be an astronaut. No, what if you could? Just what if?
absolutely.
And like then you use logic and like genius output comes from genius input,
Yeah,
right? You find the genius, so then you can like take from them and just be a kid about it, and it's just like so much more fun.
yeah, yeah.
So anyway, that's
Very interesting.
I don't know if this is right or wrong. This is just like a way of doing things, right? And if
It
like,
is. So it is probably. probably right in some ways. Absolutely.
Yeah, but I don't want to speak in absolute terms. Like this is how you should do it. Like this is a way that I've learned from other people. And you can build on top of this and like have your own way.